Lesson 3, page 14. Why are students turned off? A teacher pretends to be a student and sits in on several classes. What does she find in the typical class? Boredom, routine, apathy, manipulation, discouragement. If this depressing list sounds familiar, you will be interested in the following analysis of why classes often seem to be more about killing time than about learning. Ellen Glantz lied to her teacher about why she hadn't done her homework. But, of course, many students have lied to their teachers. The difference is that Ellen Glantz is a 28-year-old high school social studies teacher who was a student for 6 months to improve her teaching by gaining a fresh perspective of her school. She found many classes boring, students doing as little as necessary to pass tests and get good grades, students using ruses to avoid assignments, and students manipulating teachers to do the work for them. She concluded that many students are turned off because they have little power and responsibility for their own education. Ellen Glantz found herself doing the same things as the students. There was the day when Glantz wanted to join her husband in helping friends celebrate the purchase of a house, but she had homework for a math class. For the first time, she knew how teenagers feel when they think something is more important than homework. She found a way out and confided. I considered my options: confess openly to the teacher, copy someone else's sheet, or make up an excuse. Glantz chose the third option, the one most widely used, and told the teacher that the pages needed to be completed for the assignment had been ripped from the book. The teacher accepted the story, never checking the book. In class, nobody else did the homework. Student after student mumbled responses when called upon. Finally, Glantz said, the teacher, thinking that the assignment must have been difficult, went over each question at the board, while students copied the problems at their seats. The teacher had covered the material, and the students had listened to the explanation. But had anything been learned? I don't think so. The system encourages incredible passivity. Glantz said, in most classes, one sits and listens. A teacher, whose role is activity, simply cannot understand the passivity of the student's role, she said. When I taught, Glantz recalled, my mind was going constantly, figuring out how to best present an idea, thinking about whom to call on, whom to draw out, whom to shut up, how to get students involved, how to make my point clearer, how to respond, when to be funny, when to be serious. As a student, I experienced little of this. Everything was done to me. Class methods promote the feeling that students have little control over or responsibility for their own education because the agenda is the teacher's, Glantz said. The teacher is convinced the subject matter is worth knowing, but the student may not agree. Many students, Glantz said, are not convinced they need to know what teachers teach, but they believe good grades are needed to get into college. Students, obsessed with getting good grades to help qualify for the college of their choice, believe the primary responsibility of their achievement rests with the teacher, Glantz said. It was his responsibility to teach well, rather than their responsibility to learn carefully. Teachers were regarded by students, Glantz said, not as people, but as role players who dispensed information needed to pass a test. But the sad reality, Glantz said, is the failure of the teachers to recognize their tremendous communication gap with students. Some students, she explained, believe that effort has little value. Some have heard reports of unemployment among college graduates and others. After seeing political corruption, they conclude that honesty takes a back seat to getting ahead any way one can, she said. I sometimes estimated that half to 2/3 of a class cheated on a given test. Glantz said, worse, I've encountered students who feel no remorse about cheating, but are annoyed that a teacher has confronted them on their actions. Glantz has since returned to teaching at Lincoln Sudbury. Before her stint as a student, she would worry that perhaps she was demanding too much. Now I know I should have demanded more, she said. Before, she was quick to accept the excuses of students who came to class unprepared. Now, she says, you are responsible for learning it. But a crackdown is only a small part of the solution. The larger issue, Glanz said, is that educators must recognize that students and teachers, though physically in the same school, are in separate worlds and have an ongoing power struggle. A first step toward ending this battle is to convince students that what we attempt to teach them is genuinely worth knowing. Glanz said, we must be sure ourselves that what we are teaching is worth knowing. Lesson 4, page 18. Culture and civilization, just different. My name is Karina, and I am a pupil at West Buckland School in Barnstaple, Devon. Our school is a private one, and quite small compared to other schools in Great Britain. It has about 600 pupils. Some of them are day pupils, and some live in boarding houses. The boarding houses are either for boys or for girls only. Some of the houses are very big, 40 to 50 pupils, but some of them are rather small, 16 to 20 pupils. Each boarding house has a house parent who takes care of the pupils and organizes different activities during weekends or even during the week. West Buckland School was founded in 1898 and has a lot of traditions and rules. Everybody has to wear a school uniform until 1620 when the school ends. Girls are not allowed to wear jewelry or color their hair. School starts at 9:15, but there is breakfast for boarders at 8 a.m. The lunch break is from 13:15 to 14:25, and then school day continues. Boarders have to be back in their boarding houses between 1820 and 2020, when there is preparation time. During this time, everybody has to stay in the room and study. The pupils are also allowed to watch TV or listen to music during this time. Boarders also have to be in their houses by 22:45. All the subjects are distributed in 5 blocks, and a pupil in the 6th form, that is, years 12 and 13, the equivalent of years 11 and 12 in Moldova, is able to study 4 subjects, each one from a different block. There are a lot of extracurricular activities you can participate in. There is a great variety of sports, music lessons, a theater club, and a debating society. Within the school, there are a lot of fields especially designed for rugby, cricket, hockey, netball, golf, and squash. There is also a big gym, and all the classrooms are provided with necessary equipment. 6th formers have their own 6th form center, where there is a TV, a stereo system, a pool table, and a snack bar. There are a lot of meetings during the week. On Mondays, there is a school meeting where the headmaster or head teacher is always present. On Tuesday, there is a house assembly. There are 4 houses, and each pupil belongs to one of them. A house is like a separate group, and they always compete with each other in different events. On Thursday, there is a 6th form meeting where all 6th formers are gathered, and a lot of interesting themes are discussed. Sometimes there is a boarders meeting where the issues of boarders are discussed. A new system of studying was introduced in the year 2000. All the pupils from lower 6, year 12, take exams at the end of the year. During each lesson, teachers provide pupils with brand new information from the internet and from magazines. Pupils have to study more by themselves rather than the teachers providing all the necessary information. Lessons are very silent. Pupils don't usually talk, and they are respectful towards their teachers. During tests, the students never copy, even if they don't know the answer or are uncertain about it. There are no catalogs, and the marks are put on their test papers, just for the students to see their mistakes and do better next time. Marks are given from A to E, and sometimes in points, example 16 out of 22, or percentages, example 67%. In my school, everybody is very friendly. The relationships with teachers are very close, and teachers always try to help if needed. My name is Inga. I have graduated from Nevada Union High School in Grass Valley, California. American high school is often stereotyped in the minds of Moldovan teenagers. It is viewed as a time of continuous partying, easy classes, and straight A's. The reality is far from this picture. It is true that overall, American classes are oriented toward an average student, and if you go to school and do your homework, it's possible to be classified as a good student. Still, studying in an American school can be difficult and even tough. There is a system called honors in most of the schools, and only the best students who maintain their GPA, grade point average, above a certain level can be enrolled in these special classes, which can be qualified as advanced. The level of students in these classes is above and average. So is the grading system. For example, if you get an A in an honor class, your grade for that class will be 5 points instead of 4 as in regular classes. The grading system is as follows. An A equals to 4, a B to 3, a C to 2, and a D to 1. An F is 0, and the class has to be retaken in order to graduate from high school. There is a minimum of credits required for graduation. Every subject taken for a period of 1 semester has a corresponding number of credits. For example, a biology class equals to 3 credits. In high school, almost all the classes have the same amount of credits because they are required for graduation. Another difference between American and Moldovan schools is that you can choose what you want to study. It is not absolutely liberal, but still, the student has something to say about what he or she wants to study. There is a guideline for what should be taken, and some of the obligatory classes include English for 4 years, math for 2, 3 or 4 years depending on the school you go to or the college that you want to go to. The other subjects are electives, or at least this is what they are called. Every student has to take 2 science classes, and there are 4 different science classes available, such as physics, general science, chemistry, and astronomy. So, the student has the choice of any 2 of these in order to graduate. At my school, we had classes from early in the morning, 7:35 a.m., to 2:30 p.m. Everybody had 7 periods. The 4th was lunch. Every day we had the same classes. The schedule doesn't change for a whole semester. The students in every class are different. There is not such a notion as class 10, A, or B, or a class teacher. Students are much more independent than in Moldova. My school is a public school. It is a big one. It has almost 3,000 students, all high school students. There were no meetings organized for students. Only student government body was getting together to discuss issues related to school life. There is no uniform required for students. Uniforms are usually obligatory for private schools only. There are certain restrictions on what types of clothes you can wear at school. There is also a uniform required for physical education classes. Each of the schools in the United States has counselors. These are people who can give you advice concerning the school subjects or about continuing studies at college or university. There were a lot of extracurricular activities organized for students at my school, all in all over 40 clubs of different kinds. The relationships between students and teachers are much more informal than in Moldova. Students and teachers are very friendly. Teachers are viewed more as friends than higher-level educators. There are different ceremonies organized in American schools. Among them are prom and graduation ceremonies. For graduation, students wear special robes. Prom is held 3-4 weeks before the school ends. It's a big formal dance where only seniors are invited. Grad night is another event held for the entire night, the day following the graduation. There's also a senior trip somewhere in the country.